If you were to go back 2 years, what would you tell yourself about the benefits of on-point DAS?
So going back just a couple of years, I stepped into GRF about 5 years ago at this point. I was an engagement user, so I was a competitor user before that. And so when I looked at Caseware, I thought it was great. There are some obviously similarities between the old platform I was used to and the new one. I will say as I got more and more into Caseware, especially with some of the data points, the meta points that are used within the actual tool, the software, the working program itself, there's a lot available and a lot to be able to use and be produced. It's very exciting to be here, particularly because there is a lot of new things on the horizon that I think Caseware is at the forefront of that I haven't seen other competitors doing in the space. The movement to the cloud is a big one. We're in that transition journey currently at this time, and it's been a wonderful experience just working with the entire team. Product development's been able to, or not product development, but support has been there to help us along the way, ensuring that we have the appropriate steps and measures in that journey as well. So it's been a very collaborative relationship. As far as listening to your customers and the feedback that we provide to you, you all are very good about listening and what we need as practitioners, as professionals, but also just on the practice management side of it as well, ensuring that our teams have quality and are able to do their work efficiently and seamlessly.
How has the partnership with Caseware helped your firm evolve technologically?
So we are in that journey right now. It has been a little bit, I would say, of a pushback in terms of change. That's our biggest obstacle. Our staff do not like change. And so we are trying to take those steps, baby steps, a little at a time in the transition. So we moved from just working on desktop to moving to the Smart Sync kind of hybrid environment. So they got used to having files at least in the cloud and kind of working in that mannerism. And we are currently going to be piloting movement to the full cloud with at least the on-point audit platform. So we have kind of a plan for long term. We're looking about another 1.5 years or so before we're moving to that DAS platform. But everything that we've seen thus far is very exciting. Being able to talk with how that methodology worked in terms of the actual audit process and methodology with the AI CPA, the collaboration that you all had with CPA.com is really, really cool because you're bringing all the big players in this space and ensuring that you have all the right things in place. And that's what I think was the main selling point for our department leader in being okay with looking at this as a future thing for us.
What attracted your organization to the on-point DAS platform?
So I think that we as practitioners can all agree that the audit methodologies that are currently used by most firms is very outdated. It's stale. It hasn't changed in many, many years. There's been a lot of new regulations going into play. So when I got to sit down and talk with the person at the AI CPA in particular, who headed up the whole risk methodology, knowing that we are trying to get back to the standards, but put it in a place that really helps our staff to think through all of the things that you have to on an audit to really understand where your risks are, understand what you need to hone into, understand what could be a value add for your clients too, as a part of that process is really what the sweet sauce is, right? It's really getting back to the basics and not trying to just push things through.
If you could go back 2 years, what would you tell yourself about why you should consider on-point DAS?
My new self would say to my old self, remember all those late night conversations you had when you sat up in bed and you were thinking through different things and how audits were being run and why this and why that, and why aren't the staff understanding this when they saw this evidence from the client and not marrying up the two. This is going to give you a way to be able to see all of that.
What are some value-added benefits you've experienced with on-point DAS?
Value-added insights, but also getting back to, again, when we talk about what the risks are within an engagement, the risk assessment is always evolving. It's not just a one-time thing that happens at the planning of the engagement. So you may see something later on down the road that you have to pick up as a risk, and it might change what you do ever so slightly. So that's one big piece of it. And when you talk about the value add, yes, it can be value added for the client as well, because if we find that risk and we say, hey, there's a gap in your control structure or in your procedurals, your processes, because we're finding this, that is where I guess eventually you could see that potential result as well.
What advice would you give to a firm that is considering on-point DAS?
So I would say that if a firm is considering DAS now, today in the journey, I would say don't hesitate. Definitely take a look at it. It really gets back to what we're really starting with at the underlying platform of just that risk methodology, that risk assessment that I think the standards really are pushing us to get back towards.